been in a relationship for more than 13 years, but Charlie Hunnam says he's indifferent about getting married. His girlfriend, however, feels differently. In a recent interview, Charlie admitted he'd only do it because she wants to. So can a relationship work if one person wants to get married and the other does not? What do we think?
Let's go to Facebook here. Kenny says, if an individual is too afraid to pledge themselves wholeheartedly to you, thus enabling them to make vows and enact on commitment, then that individual does not deserve you. Which is an interesting take. But what if that individual is still willing to pledge themselves fully to you, but just doesn't really care or believe in the ritual act of marriage? Which is the situation that I'm in. So maybe I'm a bit biased. But Simon doesn't want to get married. He just doesn't see the point in it. He feels like we're totally committed as a couple. He calls me his wife jokingly and seriously, I guess, as well. But after some things, I had a funny November, you might remember. And it felt like the world was on fire and everything was burning. And in those moments, I actually downloaded the marriage application and came home and said, I need to do this. I need to tether myself to you. You are this light. You are the only thing that's reason I need this. And he was like, oh God. Okay, and he was willing to do it. We were ready to go to City Hall. And then of course I pulled back and thought, well, geez, do I want to attach my marriage to trauma? Maybe not. And so I had to ask myself, why is it important to me? And would I want someone to do something that they don't believe in just to sort of placate my sensibilities? So I'm still thinking about it. That's the point.
But the thing is, Jessie, it's not a deal breaker for you, right?
It's not a deal.
It's not a deal breaker.
It's still the same amount of paperwork if we break up. We're common law.
Yeah,
it's
right? It's the same kind of thing.
Well, Carolyn on Facebook said she's been happily unmarried for 22 years. They'll need to work it out. A piece of paper won't make it better or guarantee a darn thing. And Carolyn, I think you raise a really good point. Because, I mean, yes, for sure, what Charlie Hunnam said was not the most romantic, but at least it was kind of honest. We think about how many celebrities we've seen who have been over the top in love with their partners, only to fast forward a few months, sometimes a few days, and they've divorced. Yes. I'm thinking of one Mr. Tom Cruise. Remember with Katie Holmes? And the jumping of the couch?
Yes.
There was so much effusiveness, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's so romantic. And he was saying things. This is a quote. He said, I don't know if this was to Oprah or who, but he said, I know I'm with a woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And then everyone started to feel like, found out how creepy the whole thing was, right?
Yeah.
And it changed our turn. So I feel like maybe it's time in the world to balance out kind of our over-romanticization of the whole wedding and marriage industry with a tiny bit of indifference. Like, I think maybe that will balance it. And somewhere in the middle we'll get to, which is maybe a more realistic point when we think of marriage. Like, what do you think?
Well, I think that for Charlie Hunnam, for sure, I think that if he had worded it differently, it would have landed differently.
The word indifferent.
Yes.
Yeah.
The word indifferent is, he didn't say the things that Jess said about the fact that you and Simon are bonded and that you've been together for a long time, that he's your anchor, that
Okay, but not every actor is going to be I don't feel like everyone who's interviewed in the public eye. Some are super effusive like Tom Cruise, but some people are. I remember Brad Pitt, and this isn't a good example. Carry on.
Right. Okay. I think there's a better way of saying it. When you're on a huge radio show like that, and you're asked, "Hey, are you going to get married?" and your first instinct is, "I'm indifferent to it. She really wants to, but nah."
Yeah. Right.
I mean, again, he's an artist. He's a storyteller. So I imagine that what is the story you're trying to tell me? Because the story you just told me is. So I will say that in my case. Jacek proposed to me by surprise after 6 months. He really, really, thanks. I said something nice about him, now I have to say something bad. He really wanted to marry me. I wasn't talking about marriage. We were together for 6 months. I was like, this guy's amazing. Yeah, probably it's it, but there was nothing verbalized, and he surprised me with a ring, and it said to me, wow, I am the best thing that's ever happened to this person, and he wants to lock it down.
Jason was honestly, I don't know if he would use the word indifferent, but I feel like he wasn't as, like, let's say, enthusiastic about the idea. And I think there are a lot of men, if they're being honest, who feel, and I'm not going to say there aren't women like that too, but who the whole idea of the big, huge wedding, the very expensive wedding, the pomp and the circumstances is a little bit like, okay, if they're being, like, you know, and I didn't find, like, for me, I was just like, okay, we've been together for 10 years. It feels like something. We should do something.
It's about the next step.
Right, the next step.
The next step. Right? That happened with me. Lloyd and I actually broke up years ago because I got a job in Halifax. It was my first job with this network. And we had been together for, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 6 years. And I figured it was the next step. So I said, I got this job. I expected him to propose, and he didn't. And then he said, you know, I also can't tell you not to take this job, and I don't want to stand in your way. And so we broke up. And clearly we got back together later, but we broke up over it because I expected it. It's like, what do you do? Like, we've been together this long.
Right.
It's the next step, isn't it?
Yeah.